it's not about what you consume, but it's about what consumes you. I keep feeling like big moments get stolen away from me. Mind clutter is a thief of creativity and brilliant ideas. In the quiet spaces between thoughts, it's where the mind finds its most profound revelations. Dopamine detox, it's all about resetting, recharging, and elevating our lives. Join me on a journey to break free from the dopamine loop and find a way more intentional way of living. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary, allowing the essential to express itself. Think that your mind is a garden, and dopamine detox is that moment to pull out the weed and let the flowers bloom. Whether you are ready or not, you are the only one who can hit that reset button on your brain, clear out the noise, and welcome a wave of calm and focus into your life. My name is Tuti, welcome home, and thank you very much for your time and interest. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Basically, it's a chemical messenger that plays a crucial role in various different brain functions. Dopamine is involved in regulating mood, pleasure, and motivation. It contributes to the brain rewards system, creating a sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. Depending on where you are getting your dopamine fix, the effects can be a real game changer. So dopamine can be great and bad, but it all depends on where you are getting the dose. Alright, so picture this. Cheap dopamine is that quick fix pleasure stuff that it's easy to grab. We're talking about those easy accessible activities that give you that instant feel-good vibe by triggering dopamine, the brain's happy juice. But here's the thing, those are like snacks for your brain, but not a full-on meal. They are easy, they don't take much effort, and they can become into really bad habits in no time because, well, they are so darn enjoyable. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that these activities can be an absolute blast in the moment, but going all in on cheap dopamine without mixing it up with some deep, meaningful experiences, it's like an addiction. This high consumption on cheap dopamine will definitely carry some negative consequences in your overall mental and emotional well-being. So you can see this as a frisbee, right? You release all this cheap dopamine and later on it all comes back against you at a very high speed and it hits your face. So let's aim for a more sweet balance between instant gratification and activities that represent more beneficial and sustainable sources for satisfaction in the overall long-term well-being. Just to make this whole topic more clear, I will give you some examples on what really means good dopamine and bad dopamine. Okay, let's start with the bad dopamine. For example, endlessly scrolling through social media feeds to find memes, updates, and entertaining content. Online shopping, browsing and making impulsive purchases for the temporary thrill of acquiring something new that you actually don't need. Gaming, TV shows binging, overconsumption of sugary stuff or ultra-processed foods. Constantly checking and responding notifications on your phone just for the instant gratification of virtual social interactions. Procrastination, I'm sure this is such a big one for so many people. And yes, engaging in activities that distract you from your main responsibilities. I'm sorry, the clouds are coming and going, and I really hope this doesn't ruin this video. Okay, mindless web surfing. So opening a lot of different tabs on your computer, hopping from one to another one without any specific purpose. Drinking excessive amounts of caffeine and energy drinks just for that instant and quick energy boost. consuming too much porn, reading sensational and clickbaity articles that give you that quick and brainless entertainment. And the problem with these clickbaity articles is that very often people go for one and then end up in a second one, in a third one, and then, yes, it ends up being a massive waste. Goal setting and achievement. Setting specific, realistic, that's very important, realistic goals and working hard towards achieving them will give us a sense of purpose and achievement. And I know this is pretty obvious and everybody knows it, but sometimes we humans get lost. Exercising, learning new skills, meaningful social connections, spending good quality time with your loved ones, your friends, your family, without checking your phone. That is brutally disrespectful. I don't know why people do it so much. I like this phrase of don't throw pearls to the pigs, right? If you are speaking about something that matters to you, something that is important, and the person in front of you is distracted, working, like checking his or her phone constantly, I would absolutely leave that conversation. I will say goodbye and I will go, and I won't waste any time with that person. Live respectfully, but I wouldn't sit to talk about something deep when the person in front of me is just in another planet. Nature connection. Spend time outdoors. Go find a tree, something super simple, lay, close your eyes and connect with the wind, with the noises, with the birds, with yourself. You can't stop the speed of life. You have the power to do that. When it comes to consuming social media content, I see short-term content as the sudden kick of a line of cocaine. Short-term content offers a quick and very intense experience. And I never had cocaine in my life before, but I don't know why I found that comparison very appropriate. Now think about long format content that is well crafted and well thought out in the forms of videos, podcasts, books, right? See this content as a valley, a valley that has ups and lows, but with a line that trends upward, trends consistently upwards, providing a more enriching overall experience. This video is all about how to stop being a mindless consumer. In this digital era, attention has become the hottest currency in town. Are you unknowingly giving your attention away for free? Instead of being hooked in epic life-changing goals, are you riding the roller coaster of cheap dopamine hits? As the sun rises, promising a new day filled with purpose, some of us are reaching our phones, setting the tone for the day, dominated by distractions. Chances are that as you are watching this video, your mind is already drifting somewhere else. Overstimulation has disrupted our ability to focus. And honestly, the struggle to go through longer videos, it's real. Have you noticed that in our modern world, the ability of reading is fading away? I guess it's because overstimulation has left our brains in a permanent state of frenzy. Reading has become such a rare skill because our brains are honestly fried from so much garbage. Short, snappy content are ruling the internet. Let's face it, distraction is probably the enemy number one of that life that you truly desire. If you can't take charge of your digital habits, taking back the control over your life will become an absolute uphill battle. Social media platforms have a clear mission: to do as much as they can to keep you glued. Tech giants are throwing millions every year, even billions just to research on better strategies to keep those eyes locked on the screen. Nothing of this comes for free. Time is gold, and at the end of the day, that's the way you are paying. Also, something else that happens is that these platforms study you very well, and what they do is that they investigate your likings, your preferences, and then they place adverts, the right adverts around the content that you are watching. Sooner or later, you will always going to end up spending your precious time and money on things you didn't even plan initially. Also, something that is truly annoying is that platforms continuously place ads in between videos. So if you want to get rid of them, you will have to pay a monthly subscription. I do that with YouTube because I love YouTube for learning things and long tutorials, and I don't like when in one video of 40 or 50 minutes I have to stop like 6 times, scroll or skip an advert, because that makes the whole process of learning so much more destructive that you see yourself in the obligation of pay. And it's okay, at least that's a good investment, because I think my monthly payment is so worth what it costs. But at the end of the day, this is another example just to show that these platforms are never free. You may think they are free, they advertise as free, but if you really want to get something out of them, you will have to invest in them. Not many things in this world come for free. And believe me, nothing related with social media, internet, or anything virtual are the exception to this. What I found really negative when it comes to scrolling and not having the control of what's coming next is the relentless bombardment of negative information. The architects of this digital era know very well that negativity is like that siren's song that attracts so much attention. So as you unintentionally give away your attention, you are subjective to an explosion of negativity that can affect your day, your mood, and overall your mental health, because it's really an addictive negative spiral. Me personally, one time I just clicked on a video that was telling the story about how there was a very famous case in my country of a girl that was killed, and I don't know, for some reason I click on that video and they explain what happened to her, and it was so well done that I watched the whole thing, but at the end I felt so sad. And the story of that girl was a real life story. It was nasty, it was really bad, it finished horrendously bad. And what happened to me at that moment of my life is that, of course, when you watch a video, then you're sending signals to whatever platform that's the kind of content you like, because you put 20, 25, 30 minutes of your life watching that. So when you get into that platform, then next time they will recommend you more of that type of content. And I end up starting to watch these cases of how the case of this girl or the famous case of that guy, and there were cases, bad cases of people dying and really bad life stories, but for some reason they were so addictive. And one day I was like, Jesus, these videos make me feel horrendous. And lucky enough, I could stop all that. And after I stopped watching that for a few weeks, then the platform didn't offer me any more of that, because they knew I wasn't clicking on that. But it's all about, being pay attention and be smart into what we click, because then we will be offered tons and tons more of that we click oftenly. Not even click, because sometimes when something is put in front of your face and you can't stop watching for a few minutes, then what the platforms understand is that you like that, and maybe you're just watching something that you're in shock because you cannot believe how it could be like it's just so impactful, but in a negative way. That's why you cannot click away. Don't let your attention be the freebie you didn't know you were giving away. Your attention is a treasure that deserves to be spent wisely. If you aren't making meaningful progress towards your goals, you shouldn't be indulging in cheap dopamine, because like that, you are just ruining things for your future self. Think this way: I want to reach my goals more than I want all those easy, accessible distractions. I want to do all of the things that are required to get what I want to get. And yes, maybe that includes work upon hours and hours really hard. Maybe it means having very focused determination, and maybe it means missing out on a lot of the things that people call fun. I'm seriously on the overstimulation struggle. It's like this never ending energy drain that is turning my life into a roller coaster I never signed up for. Anyone else feeling this vibe? How can we fix this? Well, let's explore together some tactics to improve concentration and aim for a more fulfilling, intentional present. Addressing and overcoming a cheap dopamine addiction involves making conscious lifestyle choices. And yes, I know the word addiction sounds super harsh, but I truly believe so many people are addicted to their phones and computers and all of this, and they do not even have an absolute clue that they are. I've seen people having dinner for different people, like singing on their phones. So I think we all know this. We see it in trains, in transportations, everywhere. People looking at the phones. I don't think talking about addiction is, too much of a crazy thing to say. Awareness and acknowledgement. And yes, this is the first place to start. And it's recognizing and acknowledging our own toxic behaviors. Okay, if you think you're not addicted to cheap dopamine, then I challenge you to spend a whole week without watching any stimulating social media entertainment. We all play it cool, right? Like, nah, it's okay. I'm just scrolling for just some laugh and chill. No big deal. I can quit whenever. Well, I don't know. Take the challenge and see where it takes you. But also, I would like to say, in this whole week, be super intentional and do not, check your phone if you're checking your phone without any reason, then that's toxic. If you are checking WhatsApp all the time, every time you get a notification, you feel like you need to answer straight away. All those little things are also a bit toxic, because then you cannot release control. You have to be like wired, waiting for stimulus to come to you. And if they don't come to you, then you grab the phone and then you start looking for them. So it's all part of, bad negative patterns. I'm talking of having a week where you just watch what you intentionally want to watch, right? For example, I need to see how to cook a recipe for hamburgers. Well, I just type that, get into a video for that, get value out of that video and get out. Don't stay there. Don't click on something you were not intentionally looking for in the first place. It's about having a week where you just use your phone when you really, really, really need it, and for nothing else. You use your phone, you use social media or internet, but internet doesn't use you this week. It has to be a week where you prioritize to just use internet as a tool. If after 1 week it's been easy for you, great, that's perfect. But if you struggle a bit, that means that at some point you have some level of addiction that probably you did not really want to acknowledge. For example, if you feel lonely and you consume content just to hide your loneliness, then you are using internet as a distraction, as a barrier between you and your problems. That barrier will just make problems such as loneliness, social anxiety, low confidence bigger and bigger over time. Another way to work towards a more intentional life is to set clear goals. Define specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals for reducing or eliminating cheap dopamine activities. Create a schedule. Structure your day with planned activities. This will reduce the idle time that may lead to cheap dopamine habits. I have this Sunday ritual where I plan my week in just 5 minutes. As a mom, my days can easily spiral into chaos, finding surprises in every corner. Planning my days, it's an absolute lifesaver because when I tackle problems along the way and finally I have to do time to do something productive, then instead of being all overwhelmed, I just check my phone and literally in seconds I have a clear direction of what to prioritize and where to go. This habit keeps me from getting lost, into my phone scrolling through stupid things. Plus, following a clear list fills me with motivation to, check those boxes. If you feel guilty, bad, or you feel your self-esteem crashes after watching social media, then leave it. Take time from it and it will make wonders. And I know before I talk about a 1-week challenge, now on this part of the video, I'm talking about quit social media for a while, like a long term. After a while of not consuming meaningless content, then your brain will be used to a more calm, peaceful life. So even when you try to watch something stimulant, your brain will be easily overloaded and that won't be an enjoyable experience. After a break of social media, like a long break, you will probably enjoy more like relaxing content, soft content, because anything too crowded, it will make you feel chaotic and like overwhelmed. And this is exactly how you re-educate your brain and you take control of your own digital habits. Of course, after taking a break, you are not done, because if after a break you start slowly but steadily and constantly introducing again the cheap dopamine kind of content, then your brain will again start being trained on that and you will start feeling enjoyment into this negative content, and that enjoyment then will become into an addiction. But what happens with this enjoyment for negative information is that after the enjoyment you will feel negativity, because that's a self-destructive pattern, right? If you, on the other hand, consume information that it's more fulfillment and it's enriching, then that will be enjoyment that will translate into pleasure. So yes, enjoying things doesn't always mean that the after enjoyment will be positive. Another example of taking like an abrupt break, it's like imagine you eat a lot of junk food, right? And then you're like, no, I will stop all this and I will just eat healthy. So you do an abrupt cut. Then all your body will get used to now all this healthy food. And if you decide one day to go back to McDonald's and eat a lot of that stuff, then you will feel sick. That food surely won't sit well in your stomach, and that's because you like you were eating junk food, your body was trained for that. Then you eat healthy food, your body now it's trained to eat healthy food. So that the good thing about that is that even when you try to go back to your old habit, it will be absolutely dreadful. A great way to do this abrupt cut into a bad habit, for example, it's to, and I know this is going to sound a bit funny and extreme, but it's to go on a silent meditation retreat. And yes, I know this is the most extreme thing you could possibly do. So I was planning a retreat because I'm a mom, I got my daughter, and she breastfed for more than 2 years. So finally, when I got her I was telling my boyfriend, once she get out of the breast, I will take holidays for myself because I really need some, sort of separation to find again myself. And I was looking for some retreats and I found this silent retreat, and it really remembered me to, I don't know if you watch a movie with Julia Roberts that it's called Eat, Love, Pray, and she goes to Bali and she does this silent retreat. And yeah, it's that movie, it's great to see, more or less the dynamics of a silent retreat. Now, yeah, I wasn't looking to fly to another country or anything. I was just looking around the area for retreats. I saw that one. Another retreat took priority, so I'm not taking the silence one. I will do it in the future one day, we'll see. But I think it's an amazing option because if, for example, this one was 4 days, the one I found, the silent retreat, and it's 4 days, it was like 200 euros, but it includes housing and it includes food, and it's all vegan, super healthy food. It's in the nature, so it all makes it so much more special and intense, because it's a whole connection with yourself when you are in such silent, peaceful nature scenario to do a retreat like that. So yeah, it wasn't something that you need to break the bank. It's this retreat, for example, that I found, it was like 2 hours far from my home, so it's not that you need to break the bank and travel to Bali to be able to have an experience like this one. But on the other side, I find it that it's really hard to replicate something like a silent retreat, meditation silent retreat, in your real life, because what are you going to do? You have to speak to people. If you stay alone in your house, it's going to be a bit too lonely. I think being in nature and with people that guide you through meditations, it's so much more enriching. So the thing is that after doing something so drastic, you will have such high levels of mental clarity, probably a mental clarity that you never had in your whole life before. And just with that mental clarity, you will be able to take decisions that will take you to another level of evolution. Maybe you're stuck because all the fog and chaos and distractions that are getting into your life all the time. But yeah, with the mental clarity, maybe you can get to have these brilliant, amazing ideas that you never had before. For example, I like to compare it to this. Imagine you are in a bad relationship, and maybe down inside you, deep inside you, something is going wrong. But because the relationship is turning from bad to worst so slowly, so steadily, you cannot really see that much the change. You are kind of sinking slowly and you're swimming in mud, you're drowning, but it's so hard to see because you're so confused. Everything is so overstimulating, you're already sinking. That, yes, I guess for from an outside perspective, it will be so easy to see that you are not doing good in that relationship. But of course, for us, when we are inside that, it's so hard to see. And maybe you take the drastic decision to leave that relationship, to leave that person, and then after weeks, maybe you feel, Jesus, how on earth I was living like that? I was destroying myself. I was sad. I was gloomy. I was just, I was a ghost. How on earth I did not get out of that before? And that's the thing. When I'm talking about drastic changes, sometimes help so much, because just for the right people, drastic changes will like speed up so much your process of evolution, because yes, you will see finally things how they are. You will see reality without all the fog in the middle. You won't be able to lie to yourself anymore, because it will be obvious. You will see clearly. You will be like, there's no more excuses now to hide this and that and that. It's obvious that I was destroying myself in that relationship. I think for most people, and if you really think about it, essentially social media, it's boring, but it's so difficult to stay off because of the constant fix. You scroll and it's another video with new but unimportant information once again. Delayed gratification is the bomb. Yes, sure, I can go and watch some entertainment right now. But what about if I go to the gym, shower, then cook some healthy homemade food, and then I lay in the couch watching a movie? That will make my movie experience 10 times better. That instant pleasure of having fun versus the gratification of building solid, positive habits. The gratification of knowing you don't need to live trapped into your bad choices. Now let me explain delayed gratification with a real life example. In my 20s, I was truly miserable. So I decided to left home and I started working on super yachts. So fancy, sure, but not everything that shines is gold. When I joined the first yacht, mostly I was cleaning toilets, and I was doing it for hours and hours. I even had to use cotton pads to make sure every single corner was absolutely spotless. I was cleaning to reach billionaires standards, right? But then I started feeling like, that was a bit depressing. And I saw on the yacht there was the chef, right? And everybody was so grateful with the chef. Thanks for lunch, thanks for dinner, thanks for breakfast. And everybody respected the chef so much. Plus the chef's salary was really good compared to mine. I mean, no one ever told me thanks for cleaning, right? But everybody was telling thanks for food every single day consistently. I was honestly jealous, like truly jealous of that chef. And that put an idea in my mind. And I felt I want to become a chef. I knew how to cook and I was born in a bakery. And literally, like, my house was here and the bakery here. So every day I had to pass through the bakery to get out of the house, to go to the street. So yeah, I was born in front of cakes and pastries, and my father and my mother were the owners, so they were always baking, and I know very well that side of, cooking, but I didn't have any chef title. And that's when I started to use YouTube to learn how to cook things that I didn't know. I was watching chefs from all over the world that were teaching their tricks. The chef that was working on my first yacht was lazy on weekends. He did not want it to do anything, and also he didn't want it to left like on Friday weekend food prepared. So all the crew, and he was also leaving to see the girlfriend, so he was leaving all the crew to, I don't know, survive on to live on snacks on the weekends. So I approached the captain and I say, is it possible if I cook on weekends for us? And the captain was like, do you know how to cook? And I'm like, yes, can I try? And he's like, well, yes. And that's how it all started. I was cooking for the crew on weekends and I started, taking pictures of what I was doing, and I made a CV where I was applying for jobs as a chef. This now is going to sound a bit weird maybe for some people, but like in 99% of the cases, no one ever asked me for a chef title. And I don't know, I think that they were thinking that if I was applying to these jobs, I was a chef. One time I got asked, show me your chef title, and I said, I don't hold one. And they say, oh, okay, then we cannot, consider you for this job. And I said, great. I mean, I didn't lie, but I wasn't like a proper chef. Anyways, when you're a chef, you get hired. If your food is shit, they fire you, as simple as that. Like, no one is going to last if you don't know what to do. So finally, I got my first job, and it was to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 17 crew members. I was terrified, plus by then I didn't knew how to speak English very well. So yeah, working on yachts, it's where I learned how to speak English. But in the beginning, I was like Tarzan talking, like yes, no, black and white was literally 90% of my whole vocabulary. I remember I was so knew that every day after work I was checking the fridges, which was the produce, and then I was researching in my phone like literally 5-6 hours a day, videos and videos on which were the best things to cook and how to cook those things with the ingredients I had in the boat for the next day. I wanted to learn recipes from different countries, and YouTube was my best friend for that, because if I wanted to do Mexican food one day, I wanted to see how Mexican people cook Mexican food. If I wanted to learn how to do, sushi, I wanted to see a Japanese chef showing me how he was doing traditional sushi. I could have spent all that time researching stupid videos, shorts, and a lot of I could have fun. I could have had so much more fun and quick fun and entertainment. But yet I decided to go full on learning how to cook and how to become better and better at that. The chefs working next to me were coming from renowned chefing schools like Cordon Bleu, and they were spending more or less 100,000 euros on their careers. And yet they were asking me, where did you learn this? Where did you learn that? And that was such a crazy thing for me. I'm like, you come from the best place ever, and I know more tricks than you. But guys, I'm not joking when I say I spent more than 1,000 hours researching. I was so obsessed. I watched tons of videos. So I think this whole story is a clear example that videos can sink you or maybe can save you. Watch the right ones. Be smart. Use internet to your favor and stop being your worst enemy. I went from deeply unhappy girl with no proper university education, with no money, with a traumatic childhood and a whole family that was falling into pieces in front of me, to leave my country, travel the world, and in 10 years, I saved enough money to buy my house and to buy my car. To me, it's kind of a miracle. And I have to say that most of it happened thanks to YouTube. And YouTube is not paying me for this. I'm just saying that this internet, it's amazing. And if you use it for good, you can make careers out of no money. Please do not get me wrong. I have nothing against on universities and getting proper education, and all of that is amazing. If you want to be a doctor, you need to go to university. But for me, when it came to chefing, people wanted to eat tasty food. And if I was able to deliver that, then I was keeping my job. So in my specific case, it worked out like wonders because I had zero money, but I have time to study. And that's how I use internet to be able to become like a professional chef, not in paper, but yes, in real life experiences. I could deliver as much as a chef that went to university, and no one could take that from me. I had the knowledge and I was implementing it into my day-to-day life. Consistently exposing ourselves to inappropriate stimuli can have big consequences into our overall mental health. These unhealthy habits end up seeping in our subconscious mind, altering the fundamental functioning and the composition of our brains. Let's talk about the not so great side of dealing with overstimulation constantly. It's a real struggle, and for many people, it can end up with ADHD. For example, let's talk about ADHD and dopamine. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. People with ADHD struggle to regulate dopamine in their brain receptors. An excess in the production of dopamine will end up with hyperactivity, whereas a deficiency in the production of dopamine ends up with inattentiveness. In general, people connect ADHD with hyperactivity, but in my own experience, I've seen so much more people with this attention disorder that lean towards the inattentive side, and they do not have motivation. They struggle a lot to find motivation. The struggle to produce enough dopamine, it's like trying to find motivation in a desert. There is this missing reward feeling, and everything just seems to play in a single, not so upbeat tone. The battle is, of course, producing enough dopamine. This is a motivation crusher because that reward feeling is in short supply. Everything ends up feeling a bit monotone. I would like to talk about someone who sent me an email the other day, and this person is at the moment struggling with ADHD, and in this email he explained me thoughtfully which is his experience at the moment. I find his description pretty accurate, and I think it can help others. I'm so used to feeling nothing. For example, the death of my friend felt the same as the wedding I attended. Me graduating college, me getting my first girlfriend, me getting that job I wanted, and the same as waking up in the day and staring in the mirror. Everything feels the same. This also explains why a good portion of those with ADHD suffer from depression as well. And yes, it can be mistaken for laziness or unintelligence. Sure, we got our moments, the highs and lows, but honestly, my life just feels like one big blur. I hate when people fake having ADHD for some quirky act. This reality is seriously debilitating. Picture having dreams, goals, and this burning desire to do something meaningful, but your brain and body team up to play the ultimate game of, no, not today. I deeply admire those who made it far with ADHD. Waking up each day and finding a reason to keep going is no joke. No wonder depression and thoughts of disappearing from this world are linked with ADHD. It's a tough road, but I'm still here, pushing through. It's not about deleting social media forever or set a rule where you can never have instant gratification again. What really matters is to start being intentional about what we consume. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In the silence of decluttering, the mind finds its most powerful voice. Let's put an end to live amidst the chaos and the noise as a way to avoid confronting ourselves. Let's put an end to self-rejection.